Good afternoon. I'm Nisa Vázquez Palomares, a 7th degree grade student here in ICEST Campus Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, of gastronomy. Today I have the great chance and luckiness of interviewing Chef Rob Kinneen. First of all, welcome to Mexico, welcome to our state, Tamaulipas, and last but not least, welcome to our university here, ICEST.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you some questions.
Okay.
So the first question is, with the philosophy, you carry out a philosophy of using fresh, seasonal, regional products, in your case, Alaska. Do you think that that this philosophy can be applied here in Mexico?
Absolutely. Yes. So I'm working, originally I went to culinary school and I was working in restaurants, and it was my natural curiosity because I'm indigenous Alaskan to focus on indigenous ingredients from Alaska. Now I live in North Carolina and I work for a nonprofit called NATIVS, North American Traditional Indigenous Food Systems. And the sheer focus of NATIVS is education and accessibility to traditional indigenous foods. So, for example, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, there's a restaurant called the Wamni, and they don't serve beef, pork, or chicken. They don't serve flour, all-purpose flour. They don't serve cream or dairy, because those are all pre-colonial contact or post-colonial contact ingredients. So we focus on indigenous ingredients from the area. So wild rice, which is regional and something forageable, different botanicals, bison, rabbit, turkey, lake fish. And I think that can be transposed all over Turtle Island, which is North America, and definitely down into Mexico. We actually have a working model under NATIVS. It's called the Indigenous Food Lab. So in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we actually make, we nixtamalize corn, and we make tortillas for the restaurant, and we make arepas, and we do hominy, so for pozoles and sopas. So I definitely think, traveling through the state, the country, because I've been in different parts of the country, so in different states. But like 2 days ago, I had, I can't say it in Spanish, but ant eggs.
Huevos de hormiga?
No, so I had ant eggs. We made a salad with napoles and frutas. So I mean, those are definitely like regional ingredients that are traditional. And I think that, and I don't even barely know, so there's a lot of ingredients here that you could probably be capitalizing on.
Oh, well, thank you for your answer. I think that it's a great chance of getting to know more ingredients and using them in many different ways that could be very creative and innovate a little more. So my next question is, what are some of the challenges that the next professionals in gastronomy could be facing?
I think some of it, like right now on a national level, in the United States, I should say, I feel like there's less of a focus on like traditional French cooking, even though French cooking creates a standard, meaning like everybody knows like the 5 mother sauces or something like that. But nobody really uses the 5 mother sauces anymore. And I think about like in Alaska, or in the United States in particular, across the country, there's a lot of different people coming into the country. So the focus seems to be on more diversification of like ethnic food, which is fantastic. So you're seeing, like, for example, Awamni won Best New Restaurant in the country 2 years ago. The Best New Restaurant that won this year is, I can't think of the name of it, but it's a Haitian restaurant in Portland, Oregon. So they're focusing on, and so it's traditional foods, but done in a more contemporary way. And I think that's what I think about, like, as far as like regionality or specifications of excitement. Like when people come to, like I always said this, when you go to Alaska, you can have salmon and crab, but you're not really going to have a full Alaskan meal unless you eat at somebody's house. And so how do you get that food to a table at a restaurant where people can see it and experience it? And I think that that's the same thing coming here. I've had very different dishes across the country in different states and locations, but I know that that's only like the surface. And then I think the bigger part right now is like climate change. So again, like as a young cook, as a culinarian, I think that you should be sourcing your food from people that are producing food in ethical manners. So hand harvesting, things that will help reciprocate like stewardship of the land. So hopefully we can be here for a little longer.
So another question would be how to keep the passion alive now that, well, in the case that all of those obstacles and problems are gone?
That's a great question. I know for me, it's less serious, but also very important to me is that I always say like I'm an eternal student, meaning like when I was young, when I was 20, I just wanted to be a really good cook. I wanted to learn how to saute and braise and do production food. And then when I got a little older, I wanted to learn like for example, I used to make I used to work in an Italian restaurant. I used to love making like handmade pastas. And then I got into whole animal butchery, so I learned how to break down whole animals, whether that be a chicken, a rabbit, but also like a half a cow. We'd break down a half a cow every 6 weeks. I'd break down a full pig every month. And in one restaurant, actually in Alaska, we would get elk, which are sometimes, it's a little more rare. But again, like you would take those unique experiences and I would cure the meats or use the meats. So there you learn again, stewardship angles of how to use the whole animal. But from a business perspective, it's also how to make money, like good money in restaurants. Yeah. And then again, I think that the biggest thing is like manipulation of, not manipulation, but embracing practices that are sustainable and stewardship to the land and to the culture. And so hopefully we can just kind of focus on that and keep it positive. And sometimes technology comes into play. I have a talk that I do, and like in Alaska, we work with, I introduced like Labrador tea. And actually in Alaska, there's a company and they're creating, it's called aeroponics. So it's not hydroponics built in water, but it's aeroponics, meaning they have lights and they have nutritional supplements that they're spraying on these botanicals so that they can have these highly seasonal and highly regional botanicals more often. Oh. Yeah. So I think it's also just looking at stuff. Just because they're traditional foods doesn't mean it has to be eaten in an old way. How can we take those and use them for ourselves in a more nutritional, in a more beneficial way now?
Oh, thank you for your answer. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I guess I just want to say, I've only been here, like, first of all, I missed my flight yesterday. Oh. There were some complications.
That's unfortunate.
But I just, everywhere I've gone, I've had so much, like, warmth and hospitality across the whole country. But it's just been amazing. Like, I think that the students here, the faculty, like, everybody in this community, it seems like there's a lot of caring and a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. So it's really nice to see. And I know I've got a couple more days here, so I'm very excited to be here for a little longer.
Well, thank you, Chef Rob Kinneen, for this interview, and we really hope to see you soon.